Good evening, everyone. Imagine a broken planet like the one you just seen in my slide. A planet which is constantly hit by devastating climate events, and people live in a perpetual state of disaster preparedness. A planet in which some people have the ability to manipulate and control the Earth. And finally, a planet in which two women have the power to save the world from climate apocalypse and racial injustice. I'm talking about the Broken Earth Trilogy by American science fiction writer N.K. Jemisin, but you may have read some parallels with our current situation. This trilogy, indeed, is a perfect metaphor for the Anthropocene and for climate change. Plus, it places gender and environmental racism at its center. Switching from fiction to reality, we're living in the so-called Anthropocene, this new epoch in which human, the anthropos, human footprint on the planet has become pervasive enough to constitute a distinct geological change and has become a major threat to the environment. And there's a high level of scientific consensus on that. But what do gender and race have to do with climate change? And what does literature have to do with climate change? My PhD project seeks to answer these two questions using a climate justice perspective and an environmental humanities methodology. These frameworks understand the environmental crisis not as a mere techno-scientific problem, but also as a question of socioeconomic inequality, cultural difference, and so on. The anthropos after which geologists have named the current epoch doesn't seem to have a class, a race, a gender, a nationality. But the climate crisis isn't the product of human nature as a whole. Both human responsibility for climate change and vulnerability to environmental harm are unevenly universal. Minority groups, women, indigenous communities, low-income people are the ones most severely affected by natural disasters. To give you some data, women and children are 14 times more likely to die in ecological disasters than men. And this vulnerability is not innate, but it's a result of inequalities produced by gender roles, discrimination, and poverty. So how to convey this information to a wide and non-expert audience and to create an ethics for the Anthropocene? One possible way could be literature, given its potential for creating an empathetic awareness of climate injustice in the ones who are not yet experiencing the effects of global warming firsthand. So what I'm doing is looking at climate fiction, so novels about climate change, novels written by feminist, postcolonial, and indigenous authors that challenge this hegemonic discourse of the Anthropocene, suggesting that the impact of catastrophes is not gender-neutral nor colorblind. I can read a question in your eyes. How can literature save the world from climate change? It probably can't, but it can help us to elaborate a consciousness of the Anthropocene that takes at its core structural power imbalances, suggesting that we can't solve the problem of climate change without a deep transformation in society. Thank you.